Hello and welcome to F1 Fanatics. I'm Mike, this is
Ashley.
and like I said, we are F1 Fanatics. This is our first video, so my thoughts on it is it could be great or it could be amazing. What do you reckon of those prospects?
I'm going to go for amazing.
Fair play, I'm going to go for great just so we don't go thing. We'll see how it goes. You can comment on it in below. Right, so I suppose this is our British Grand Prix preview. First thing I think we should do is look at behind us and what happened in Austria.
Well, probably one of the better races of the season so far.
I'm going to go with it was the best season. Best race of the season so far.
Very competitive and having that opportunity of every car having overtakes, which we haven't really seen. Even the Mercedes was having a little bit of a go, despite their issues with cooling. But yeah, definitely up there.
I think all season the midfield's been pretty competitive, but what kind of made this race good is what everyone kind of wants to see as a fan, which is at the top. You had several teams fighting for those positions, and
definitely. I think the one thing that probably would have made it the one thing that every fan is wanting is Lewis actually being in there. If Lewis had been there competing for that race win, then every fan's getting what they want, because that battle of Hamilton, Leclerc and Verstappen,
I mean, that would have been pretty exciting stuff. The wily experience now of Lewis as the elderman of the grid, with the two young guns coming through who
it just shows
the best drivers.
It is showing that Formula One has got a very good future. It's safe to say that we've now got to a stage where even when the likes of Hamilton, Vettel and Raikkonen are retired, we've got the youngsters coming through and having that opportunity. So Max in the Red Bull, we know he's been there for a while now, but give him a car and it will be a very interesting future to have.
And I think that car probably will be Red Bull. They'll go from there. So, I mean, Verstappen winning, it was a fantastic drive. I think Austria was great for the sport and it makes everyone very excited for the British Grand Prix, which everyone pretty much loves, one of the most popular.
Well, with the drivers and the teams as well.
Exactly.
I think you might as well turn around and say it's the home Grand Prix for pretty much everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 7 out of the 10 teams are based in the UK and within a 50-mile radius of the circuit.
So it is.
That's a very home. I think the furthest one actually is McLaren, who very British team from there, but I think being based in Woking. So I think we should probably look a little bit of a recap of last year's race. I was actually lucky enough to go to last year's race and it was a baking hot day. Baking hot weekend actually.
It was middle of the heat wave, so
it was indeed. It was a pretty exciting start to the race actually, because Vettel had a very good start.
Yeah,
managed to take the lead.
Did he? Bogged down a little bit at the start.
He dropped down to third, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
He dropped down to third, and Kimi was pursuing him fourth. And then had a slight little accident into turn 3.
It's a slight little accident. I think it was more the fact that turn 2, Bottas did block Kimi a little bit, so it hampered his line. But as you say, turn 3, that was the story of the race, shall we say.
Although Kimi is a very popular driver on the grid, I don't think it made him very popular with the British crowd on there locking up.
No.
Going there. But it did make for an exciting race.
It did, and I think you can also look at the other way that Hamilton could have left a little bit more room in that situation.
Yeah, arguably so. I mean, but I don't think you ever expect as a driver anticipate for the lockup, but maybe you should always prepare for the worst.
I'm looking at that as playing devil's advocate and also thinking first lap of the race, you know that cars are going to be close.
Yeah, very true. Maybe give yourself a little bit of extra room just to make sure. And 2 safety cars in that as well, with the controversial DRS zone that has actually been removed for this year, where it was able to go through turns 1 and 2, wasn't it, leading into 3, and obviously there was a little bit of driver in there too, but it was responsible. what you get for film at home. There is a cat just trying to intervene in our film. Brilliant. There you go. So I'm not sure she is built for speed. In terms of this is Tara. She's also an F1 fanatic, maybe. So we've got Ericsson crashed out, and then there was that collision between Sainz and Grosjean where Sainz probably turned in a little bit too much, and that was probably the second safety car that allowed everything to close up and give Vettel that chance of overtaking Bottas and getting the win.
Yeah, I just think Vettel had that win. Even without that, I think it gave him that opportunity, definitely. But the way he was driving last season in the race definitely had that opportunity. It still comes back to the Hamilton crash. If that hadn't have happened, then I think Hamilton would have won that race.
I think with his form at Silverstone and obviously the records to break, I think you're very good. It is his home Grand Prix, and he's very much made it his home Grand Prix.
It's one of those things. If you talk to any driver about the race they want to win, it is obviously their home Grand Prix. The only one that would probably get close to something like that would be Monza as a Ferrari driver. So for Hamilton, that track is his own. There's very few people that can compete with him at Silverstone. He just knows the track well.
Inside out, whether it's rain, whether it's heat, anything, that's his track, that's his man. So we had last year, which actually was a really good for the kind of championship, because you had Vettel first, Hamilton second, Kimi third, and I believe that actually took Vettel into the lead, and then we all know what happened after that.
It opened up the lead, didn't it? It opened it up. I think it was the first time in the season that he'd been able to open up. Not like since the beginning of I think it was the first time since the beginning of the season he'd been able to open up a lead of more than 1 point.
Which again was starting to be a bit of pressure on Hamilton, but yeah, like we said, we could later see Vettel was the one who didn't handle the pressure as well as what Hamilton did. He seems to thrive in those situations. So this year's race, so I think first thing we've got to be excited about is Silverstone was confirmed for another 5 years.
Definitely, it's a good thing for the sport. Silverstone is the home really of racing in Britain, and as we said when we were discussing coming into Silverstone, it's loved by the fans, the drivers and the teams. They see it as one of the better weekends.
I mean, I think if you could have £1 for every team and every driver that's come out saying that Silverstone's their favourite track, with Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel being one of their favourite parts, I think it was very clear and obvious that everyone in the paddock and on the grids were like,
well, I think
this needs to stay.
It was one of those, when you've got that many people coming out and saying, this is what we're wanting, then it's hard, even if you're trying to follow the money, which is something that I feel Liberty are trying to do, especially with some of the newer races that they're bringing in.
They see it's a business, so they've got to expand on that front, haven't they?
Yes.
But yeah, obviously it can affect a little bit of the traditional circuits.
That's the thing. Even though as a business you do need to follow the money, you need to follow the history as well. And
first ever Grand Prix was at Silverstone.
I think it's quite clear. It's one of those tracks that you don't want to lose from the calendar. I would say if you were to do a poll from fans, it would definitely be up there. And I think
it's one of the most. It is the most well attended Grand Prix across the whole season.
I think that says it all.
So we mentioned it as well. The DRS zone dropped. I mean, I think it just means that it was something that they tried. They wanted to kind of give it a go, maybe see if overtaking happened. Not really much overtaking happened, so they've gone.
I think the track itself lends itself to overtaking.
It's a race track, isn't it? So it's wider than the kind of narrow street circuits through there. It gives lots of opportunity.
You've got that open space that you don't necessarily get in Austria. So it is one of those where I don't think the DRS zones are necessarily as important at this track to actually develop the racing. I think it's something that the track itself gives us.
I mean, I don't blame them with trying to give things a go, but yeah, it was just one of those things that you try and it goes,
Didn't work.
no, that's not
Exactly.
happening.
It didn't work. Let's not worry about it.
Right, so the surface has been relayed again for the kind of second time in 2 years, smoothing it out. I know a few of the teams, I think Toro Rosso, are kind of coming out and saying not really sure how it's going to affect the tyre wear at all. So it could be a factor. I can't imagine it's going to be too much of a factor, but it's all something that kind of plays into the pot.
I think it's one of those where the heat's more going to be the issue for tyre wear this weekend. I don't think having the track relay is going to have as bigger effect as you'd expect for this time.
I think it's one of those things that teams will quite quickly acclimatise themselves in their practice tomorrow.
I was going to say, by the end of practice tomorrow, teams will know where they're at with tyre wear with regards to the track surface itself. I think it's one of those where the temperature is going to be the bigger factor in that.
Definitely agree, because like we saw in Austria, apparently it can make a big difference to Mercedes. But going on what we think might happen, I think we were discussing this before we filmed this pretty much, is it's very much expected Mercedes dominance this weekend to return.
Well, I was saying to you about the fact that through Maggotts and Beckett's, the downforce that Mercedes have got and the speed that they're able to carry through the corners, they are going to be able to open up gaps through there that the only car I think is going to be able to challenge them in that middle sector is going to be the Red Bull. I don't see the Ferrari being able to control the pace that they have as well.
They have come out, I think Matteo Binotto has come out and said he doesn't expect to do too well there.
No, they're not. They're not
Could be a
expecting
bluff,
it.
but
Based on how Ferrari have performed this season, I don't think they're in a position where they can start bluffing. I think they need to actually be coming out and saying, we've messed up a little bit with this car.
Yeah, I think, oh, there we go. We're in control again. Maybe making our exit? No, but I think we see with Matteo Binotto. Sorry, there, just a little bit of side distraction for you to go away from that. She is left now. Tara's gone. No worries from there. Straight talking, especially on the tyre issue where he was very kind of upset about it not being changed to last year's tyres. I think he's very straight talking, so he's going to be pretty honest. If you don't think they're going to do well, I think you can pretty much take that on face value.
He doesn't seem to be the team principal that comes out and
plays mind games with his opponents.
Yes, he's quite. I think it's one of those where straight talking Italian, really, isn't it? It's quite clear. This is what I think. This is what we're going to do. So I don't expect to see too much of a challenge from Ferrari. However, Leclerc has shown that he definitely can get performance from that car, and it would be quite difficult to rule out Vettel. He has done well.
Last year's winner, and I think, like I said, Silverstone feels like one of those tracks that the more you race there, the better you know within your limits that what you can push and what you can't push. Obviously, it's different year by year with the adjustments to your car, but it's a circuit that he knows well. But Lewis knows best.
Yeah, it's hard to see past the Mercedes 1-2.
I think you're probably right. The only one who probably might throw a spanner in the works is Mr. Man in Confidence, and if you listen to Christian Horner, the best driver on the grid. So Verstappen, he's the man in form. He's got shown. Well, he's blown Gasly out the water this season, but I think it's how big it is. It's expected, but how big it is, he's getting a lot out of that car that, well, even I think Red Bull came out after Austria and were like, not really sure where he got that performance from.
Yes, he's driving above where that car should be, definitely. But as you say, it is expected for him to be at that performance compared to Gasly as his teammate. Gasly's made the step up, and it hasn't necessarily worked the way Red Bull were expecting. I think they were expecting him to come in and to be able to perform that Daniel Ricciardo role that almost was forced on him at the end of last season, where it was just supporting Max, and the car's not for his style. And every time you see about people changing teams, they say about the fact that the car's got to suit your driving style, and nothing shows that more than Ricciardo's start at Renault.
Yeah.
He's now got comfortable with the car, and you've seen that upturn in performance, Austria aside. But you can see having a car that suits your style definitely has an impact. And at the moment, that Red Bull is solely focused on Verstappen's style of driving.
I saw, though, this weekend looking to kind of change his kind of misfortune, we can say that, with Gasly. He's actually going to be running Verstappen's spec this weekend in the race. But again, like you're saying, is tailored towards Verstappen. Gasly does have to adapt because Verstappen is the number one driver, but
that's the thing.
Will he adapt enough for this weekend?
You do see it with the top drivers being able to adapt, and you can have a look at that from Fernando Alonso in the McLaren. He adapted and got the best out of that car at the time. Hamilton hasn't always had the best car, especially in the middle period of his career with McLaren, was able to adapt and consistently scoring points, still winning races. It is one of those where, as a driver at that level, you should be able to adapt to get performance from that car. The issue Gasly has got is the Mercedes in particular is so far ahead that he's only really scrapping for a certain level of positions.
Then when he's so far behind those certain level of positions, as he has been,
it's then he's falling towards that mid-tier, shall we say, of in the driver's standings. So,
well, Carlos Sainz, who's had a fantastic season, because he had a pretty poor start with the DNFs, is only 13 points behind him. So that proves the pressure in the job that he's doing on. So big weekend probably for, well, a big couple of races for Gasly going into that summer break, because I feel if it continues,
I think he does need to.
Red Bull showing that ruthless streak, he could be gone.
I don't think they will. I don't. Whilst they're going to want that performance from him, I don't see that ruthlessness from them. There's not really anyone that can go into that seat and is going to overly affect results. The only two it would be between would be Kvyat and Albon, and whilst for the future, yes, they may be a better long-term prospect, this season I don't see them going into that car and overly affecting the results.
Well, it is a difficult one for those guys at Red Bull, but I think they have shown that they're not worried about making mid-season breaks. Look at Kvyat for Verstappen in the first stint from there. But going back, I think we should probably look at the midfield battle now. I think McLaren, especially over the past couple of races, look like they're starting to dominate that midfield battle.
I think they are definitely best of the rest at the moment, and a very strong driver lineup. I'd say they're up there as a pairing, as being one of the best driver pairings on the grid at the moment, and they complement each other. Their driving styles work well.
I think they get on very well as able to vocal cats. I think they get very well as partners. they just seem to kind of be two young guys, really excited with the project that they've got.
That's the thing. McLaren has always been a project. We knew that going into this season that they were looking to build on the history that McLaren have got and working on improving that car. And Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris have both performed really well. And I think the confidence shows that McLaren have by announcing their driver lineup already before crazy seasons kicked in too much.
I think it was a smart one. They didn't want to kind of stop their momentum because it is veering on that silly season in transfer market, who will drive where.
You're going to start getting the rumours after this weekend.
And you don't want anything to unsettle those two, because Lando's probably rookie of the season so far, exceptional in qualifying especially, and now he's starting to get the race performances deserve. And Carlos Sainz has always been a highly rated driver on the grid, but I think he's now got a package where it seems to be perfect harmony in terms of them matching together.
Definitely. It'll be really good to see how far that McLaren can go this season. Could they take that step even further and maybe sneak a podium? I think that's the target, at least, that they're setting themselves.
I mean, I think if they can sneak a podium this year from how far they've been back in recent years, they'd be exceptional. I think Carlos Sainz is probably the best suited to do that.
Race-wise, I think, race performance-wise, Carlos Sainz is probably the one that is most likely to. But, as we've seen in qualifying, I think
Lando's the man with the
Lando's
pace.
up there. When that 1 lap pace, he's definitely got it there.
Certainly does. So, in talking about Ricciardo, and you mentioned earlier about him feeling in tune with the car, I think he actually was coming out in a recent interview this week and talking about they feel maybe slightly worrying. Feels there's a fundamental issue that they've got to sort out in that Renault. I think he's probably looking at the McLaren with the same engine and going, why are they so much ahead of us?
It hasn't been a harmonious relationship so far, has it?
No.
I don't think it. The step that was taken there by Ricciardo was, I think, one that he was taking because he realised he was always going to be under Verstappen's shadow at Red Bull. They decided that he was the way they wanted to go. Has the car been what was promised to him? I don't think it is. And it hasn't been the greatest.
I think Renault have done okay. I don't think they've done exceptionally bad. I don't think they've done exceptionally good. Ricciardo's come in and now he's performed better in making that team his own, which obviously opens up the Hülkenberg might decide his time with the team is at an end come the end of the season. But I think for now, I think it's okay. And obviously, if you're a competitive driver, you're going to be
you're always able to pull out results. And I think Ricciardo's definitely shown that in the Renault, that he is able to get that performance from it. It's just been a bit hit and miss. And I think it's one of those that definitely Cyril Abitol's been coming out and saying it, and so has Zach Brown, that midfield battle is quite track dependent at the moment, and that's definitely showing with the performances that Renault have had. It's if the track suits them, you know that you're going to be able to get a performance, and I think the layout of Silverstone may give them an opportunity for definitely at least 1 point position, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a double points finish for Renault this weekend.
Would be, although Alfa Romeo could have something to say about that. Kimi is going in very bold this weekend, reckons that the car's suited well. Giovinazzi looks like, after early season woes of comfortably being behind Raikkonen, is now starting to get a little bit, find his feet within that team, and
it's one
a little bit better.
I think he's taken the longest to settle out of the rookies. Obviously, that step up to F1 is quite a big jump, and he has taken a little while to settle, but it is now starting to show that it's definitely a confidence sport, isn't it? you have that confidence, and especially if you have the confidence in the car, you throw it into a corner with a little bit more speed, you're a little bit later on the brakes, and you can find those...
Start to get those tenths of a seconds off that makes
Exactly.
all the difference in there. Right, I think so. Probably we should round it off. Well, actually, I don't know if you guys use the F1 Play app that's on official Formula One one. It seems quite a good thing for fans like us to use, in terms of you just have to make predictions about the race that they give you, and you have a chance to win tickets, all paid for. Pit paddock and go on the F1 grid. I think USA is the Grand Prix still currently to win tickets.
Currently, if you get all 10 predictions correct, you get a chance to win tickets to the USA Grand Prix at the end of the season. Well, towards the end of the season, which definitely one I'd be interested in going into.
I think any Grand Prix you're just going to, but yeah, USA is certainly not a bad one to kind of get out to. I think our predictions, it was you to pick the top three, so our top three predictions were
the same,
exactly the same, which was Hamilton 1, Bottas 2, and Verstappen 3.
Yeah.
Then I believe fastest lap.
I went for Sebastian Vettel.
And I went for Lewis Hamilton. I'm backing him to absolutely blitz this weekend to the British Grand Prix.
I see Vettel going in for a late pit stop, just to get the extra point.
He's done it before, so it might go from there, but we've even seen Lewis on worn hard tyres only miss out by like a couple of tenths of a second to Vettel on fresh tyres.
Did that in France, didn't he? So
yeah. It'd be very interesting. In terms of, it was highest point scorers out of the guys just below, so I think we both went for Carlos Sainz.
That was a mid-table pack, yes.
Yeah, I think we're both expecting McLaren to do well this weekend, home Grand Prix, and Carlos, I think, just has the edge in the race
performance
at the moment. Then out of the kind of next pack below that, we both went for different, didn't we? I went for Giovinazzi back in the Alfa Romeo to do quite well this weekend.
And I've backed the Toro Rosso. I've gone for Kvyat to get that.
Who I think is a lot more mature this season, and could very well have a good drive here. He didn't do too well last time out, but maybe we'll see from there. And then safety car, I believe, was... Hold on, do we think a safety car would be out?
I've gone for yes. I just see one. I think it's quite a regular occurrence at Silverstone.
We've gone for 2 last year, so I'm going to go bold, and I'm going no this year. There's no safety cars, clean racing if someone crashes, which brings us on to the next prediction.
First retiree.
We've both gone for it. He's finished a fair few races, and I think probably one of the most unluckiest guys on the grid in terms of when these technical and accidents happen. Romain Grosjean.
Definitely. He seems to have finished too many races in a row at the moment.
So yeah, it seems a pretty safe bet to put him in that one from there.
And final one is winning margin.
And I went for, like I said, Lewis to absolutely blitz this. So to finish with a lead of 7.5 seconds and more.
I haven't been as confident. I feel Bottas is going to be pushing him a little bit, so I've gone for between 2.5 and 7.5 seconds.
Okay.
I think it'll be a closer finish.
I think the last one was guys to finish the race. So I've gone with 2 retirements in the race. I've gone for 18, and you've gone for
3 retirements. Grosjean might take a few out with him, and
let's see. Well, it's a pretty fun app. We're not paid to say that or anything like that. I just kind of discovered it. I think this is the first race we're using it. It doesn't necessarily there, but give it a go. Why not? Chance to win free tickets to a Grand Prix. Why wouldn't you kind of give it a go? And
that's the reason I'm doing
it.
Your
thoughts. So I think coming to an end. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I think it's that if you like it, give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe.
Definitely.
Is it bell
for notifications? If you want more.
Yeah, that's probably the
that's a good one. Tell us if you want more. I think
we may listen to you, or we may ignore you and just keep making them regardless.
But I think this is the way it will be. Us just having a chat as F1 fans.
Yeah, and probably getting lost where the time is and going, oh, we should probably end this now, or have something else to do in the day. What else? Share maybe? Anything like that?
Put your predictions.
Oh yeah,
in the
put your
comments.
predictions in the comments. Tell us what
Let
you
us know
think.
who you think is going to be on the podium, and also fastest lap. I think they're the two big ones that we'd like to see.
Certainly are. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. We'll be back with you soon. I'll be uploading videos over the weekend to kind of keep stuff up to date. We're F1 Fanatics. See you later.